Anytime I come to YouTube, I see a growing number of Africans in the United States who are migrating back to Africa. And being in Kenya, I see a lot of Kenyans in America who are traveling back to Africa and saying they have vowed they are coming to live in Africa. And they say they want peace of mind, they are looking for social life, they are looking for community, they are looking for freedom. You see, they don't say they are looking for money, opportunities. No, they just want freedom and peace of mind. And that number is increasing. Go check YouTube and just watch one video, and YouTube will recommend a lot of other videos of Africans who are traveling back to Africa. But I am an African in Africa, and a lot of us are working so hard to go to the United States because we believe there are opportunities. And this is something that has been confusing me for such a long time, because I don't know what it means to lack social life. Being in Africa myself, I don't know what it means to lack social life, because I have my parents around, I have my kids around. If I want to see my friends, I can go see my friends. And I don't know actually what it means to lack freedom, because I have a lot of freedom. I can go wherever I want. I can do whatever you want. You see, I'm here, I'm just doing whatever I want. I don't know what it means to also lack, I can say, peace of mind. Because if you are in the village and you have a source of income, definitely you will have peace of mind. So I can say I have peace of mind. I have a good social life. I have a great community that I talk to. And I have freedom. But I don't have opportunities. That is why sometimes we dream of going to the United States. But there's a person in the United States who has opportunities. He has 2 jobs. He has everything he wants in the US. He sends a lot of money back home. He has invested. He has opportunities and he has invested. But he has no peace of mind. This person does not have a great social life. This person does not have freedom because they have to work 2 jobs. And now they are dreaming to have what I have here in Africa. And me in Africa, I'm dreaming to have the opportunities that they have in the United States. This thing keeps me wondering. Are we living totally different lives? Are we living in a different planet than people in the US? And are people in the US living a totally different life that we have never seen in this world? Because what do you mean that you have opportunities? You have money. You can work even 2 jobs. But you are coming to a land where you can't even get 1 job easily. You are coming to a land that is struggling economically just because you are looking for peace of mind, you are looking for social life. But we have those things, and sometimes when we look at lack of opportunities, we get scared. Myself, I look at my kids and I feel for them because I don't know what is going to happen in the near future. That's why sometimes I want to go to a place where my kids will find opportunities. But someone, in fact, there's someone I follow, he lives in Kisumu. He wants to migrate from the US. Him and his wife and all the children, they want to come back to Africa. They say they don't want the system of the United States. But me here, I'm looking at my kids and I'm looking at the opportunities in the near future, and I say, no, I want to take my kids to where they can easily find opportunities. And when I look at those things, that people are really crying for freedom. They are complaining about racism. They are complaining about their professionalism not being recognized. And that's why they are coming back. And I look at it and I say, is there something we are not being told about the United States? Because we hear good stories about the US. The amount of money people send from the diaspora, particularly the United States, is a lot of money. 2 billion, I think it was 2 billion or how much, per month. They send that money back home to invest. That is a lot of money. And you tell me you are leaving that and bringing your kids back to a system that is somewhat crippled. I don't understand. Please, people who have experienced both lives in the United States and in Kenya, I would really love to understand. Are we living in totally different areas with different experiences, with totally different outcomes? I don't understand. I discussed this thing with a friend of mine who lives in Texas, and I told him that I am looking for opportunities and you want to come back home. And he told me that if you can make about $1,000 or $2,000 in that village, do not come to America. And I asked him why. Why? Because he has built a good house for himself. He has built a good house for his parents. He has invested in rental property. This is a guy who I believe is liquid. But he tells me that the American system is very difficult for him to even adapt for the long term. He wants to come back home with his wife and children. And I'm asking him, why are you leaving America? Then he told me something about healthcare. He reminded me of, there's a time, let me tell you something about him. And there's a time, this guy was admitted to a hospital after he had some chest pains. And he was admitted for 4 days. No surgery, no major interventions was done, just monitoring. And he underwent some assessments like EKG, and they put him on some assessments. And after 4 days, he was handed a hospital debt of 100,000 US dollars. 100,000 US dollars. That is 13 million Kenya shillings. That is a lot of money here in Kenya. And he was told that health insurance had paid part of the hospital bill. Now, he's telling me that you can have health insurance in the United States and it can pay your bill, and the hospital can hand you a hospital bill of 100,000 US dollars. Remember, this is a guy who is not making 100,000 US dollars in a year. In a year. Annually, he cannot generate 100,000 US dollars, but 4 days admission in a hospital with health insurance, he is handed a hospital debt of 100,000 US dollars. I started seeing some sense in what he was saying, because that is just way too much. And I told you that I sometimes engage in research in social sciences, in healthcare, in pharmacy, in public health. And sometimes we are told to write about challenges that people face in healthcare in the United States. And when we go to research studies, we only read about those challenges because we don't have lived experience. We have never been to the US to know how challenging healthcare is, the problems that people face when they are accessing healthcare. We only read about those things in our research studies. And what we find out is that healthcare is more expensive in the United States than Canada, than Germany, than the UK, than other countries actually. So, when this guy was handed over a hospital bill of 100,000 US dollars, that is when I started believing, so this thing is too expensive to this extent. And those are some of the justifications he was giving me. And I actually saw some reason in what he was saying. So he told me how you can be trapped in debt in the US, how the taxes are too high if you come with children, like he has 2 children, taking care of those children, and healthcare is too high, and the taxes are just too high, and the cost of living, like the rent is just way too high. And he just wants to come to Kenya to experience that relief, because if he's living like a middle class in America, he can be rest assured that he can live like a king back in Africa. So he is just aggressively saving money to come back, and he's trying to manage debt here and there. So he's telling me that America is a debt economy, and if you don't take care, you can find yourself depressed. But sometimes I ask, how are people who live there live? Because people have been living in the US, they are thriving. When you look photos and videos of the US, you see a developed country. When you see the amount of money that people from the US send back to Africa, it is way too much money. So which problems are these that you people are going through that you cannot manage and just stay there? This leads me to one question that disturbs my mind. Is peace of mind in Africa more expensive than the opportunities and the money that you get in the US? Are taxes in the US and the rent in the US and the cost of childcare in the US, are they too burdensome that you can find relief in Africa when you come back? Are you just not adapting to the system? That is why you are coming back. You know, those are the questions that go through my mind, because I've never been to the US, so I don't know these things. And then you ask yourself, the only thing that is taking me to America is actually opportunities, nothing else. Nothing else. In the US, I believe everything is the systems are working. A person who works hard in the US can work hard to become wealthy. That is what we believe. We've never been there. But these guys go to the US, they work hard, and they say, no, it is better to have peace of mind back home. And I look at them and I wonder, who is saying the truth? Some people are in the US and they're saying it's a great country. You can actually live your American dream. You can make a lot of money. You can achieve greatness in the US. Systems are working. If you go to school, you'll get a job. There are no limitations in terms of getting jobs. You can work 2 jobs even if you want. But again, somebody else tells me that even if you work 2 jobs, you are just working 2 jobs to survive, just to pay bills and save. So it is something we don't understand. So Americans who are traveling back to Africa from the US, could you please help us understand? Is peace of mind, is social life, is freedom more important than the opportunities that you have in the United States? Are they more important? Are we underestimating what we have? Like, for example, here where I am, I'm at peace. I have social life. Great. I live in a peaceful environment. Now, am I underestimating what I have? Am I underestimating the advantages that I have here? Now, are you overestimating these things when you have opportunities in the United States? Are you overestimating our lives? That's why you are coming back. And that is something that I don't understand. And I wish that someone comes up with a better explanation to help me understand some of these things, because honestly, we don't understand. And when we see a lot of people coming back, we have a lot of questions. Sometimes you can even fail to think better about your position to relocate to that country, and you start doing what we call detailed analysis. And some people go through what we call analysis paralysis. Like me myself, you go through analysis paralysis because you start comparing different countries in the United States and Germany. Like, there's a time I compared healthcare in the US and Germany, and I noticed that when you have $100,000, you can pay a hospital bill in the US, but in Germany you only need $5,000 to pay for your hospital bill. And in Canada you pay nothing actually. And in Kenya, even prime hospitals, you can pay like $200, $300. So what I'm wondering is, when you start analyzing and somebody tells you that it's better to go to Germany, then you find that for you to go to Germany, you also have to start learning German. And at this point, understanding the German language at my age, it's quite a challenge. I would have done it when I was in school. So we would like just people who are relocating to help us understand. Are you overestimating the peace of mind? Are you overestimating social life that we have? Are you overestimating the way of life that we live, especially those who are here before they relocated to the US? Are you overestimating your former life that we used to live here? And help us understand those of us who live here. Are we overestimating the opportunities that are there? Are there bigger challenges that we will face that will surpass some of the advantages that we have? So those are the things that I would like you to help us understand. So thank you for listening to me. This is Gidia Kali, and we shall meet again in another one. And may you have peace of mind in your life.